Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are welcome to another episode of our online classes. So today, we want to look at one of the experiments that you can use to determine or to measure specific heat capacity of a substance. Don't forget that our previous topics, when we started heat capacity, we discussed that it's only temperature that has a measuring instrument, which is thermometer, but the heat energy is only calculated because there is no specific instrument to determine or to measure it. So one of the ways in which you can determine the specific heat capacity or heat capacity of any substance is through the experimental methods. And one of the experiments or the experimental method in which you can use to determine the SHC or HC of any substance is electrical method. So today we want to look at how we can use electrical method to determine the specific heat capacity of a liquid. Now, we have the setup as shown above. We have the setup as shown above. You can see the diagram. We have a plastic container. We have an ammeter. We have a voltmeter. We have the source of electricity, that is EMF, source of EMF, a battery. It can be battery, it can be any other source of electrical energy. So we have what we call the electrical heater. You can see we have what we call the electrical heater. We also call it heating coil. The electrical heater or heating coil. One of the perfect example of heating coil is that of a boiling ring. So boiling ring. We have the stirrer as part of the apparatus used in this particular experiment. We have the thermometer. Then we have the wooden lid. That is, the wooden lid serves as a cover for the whole plastic container. Then we now have the liquid. Now, the liquid we want to determine its specific heat capacity is inside this plastic container. So, for instance, let us want to determine the specific capacity of water. We want to determine the specific capacity of water. Then we have water inside this plastic container. Then we also have the stirrer. Now, let me now explain the functions of each of the apparatus above. Now, let me begin with the wooden lid. The whole program must be covered using the whole process, the whole system must be covered with a particular material, and such material must not be a good conductor of heat. So such material must be a very perfect insulator. So that's the essence of using wooden lid here or wooden cover. So this wooden lid or wooden cover will prevent the heat loss to the surrounding. Now, we also have a plastic container used in this particular experiment. Why using a plastic container? Why can't we use a metallic container? Using a metallic container, we must understand one thing, that a metal is a good conductor of heat. So using a metallic container here, we allow or we give room for the exchange of heat energy between this particular system and the surrounding. And to prevent heat loss to the surrounding, so we need to use a material that is insulated in nature. So that's the essence of using a plastic container, so as to minimize the amount of heat energy that is going to be lost to the surroundings. So now we have the ammeter. The essence of using this, the essence of having ammeter in this particular setup is to record the amount of electrical current that is flowing through the circuit. We also have the voltmeter here. This voltmeter, an instrument used to determine the magnitude or the amount of EMF or voltage that is passing through the electrical circuit. And then we have the rheostat. What is the function of the rheostat? A rheostat is just a variable resistor that we can use to regulate the flow of electricity or the electric current in a circuit. So if we want a higher value of current to flow through the circuit, then we need to adjust the rheostat. If we, in other way, we need small amount of current to pass through the whole electrical circuit, so we still need to readjust or adjust our rheostat. So rheostat provides a way of increasing or decreasing the amount of electrical current that is passing through the whole circuit. Now here we have the thermometer. So the function of the thermometer, don't forget, we use this thermometer to determine or measure the temperature of the liquid inside this plastic container. And then we have the stirrer. Now the function of the stirrer is to use it to mix up the liquid inside this container so as to have even distribution of heat. So in this case, don't forget that this heating coil is placed at the bottom part of this plastic container. And without this stirrer, it means therefore that by the time the lower part of the liquid inside this container gets heated, now how will it be possible for the heat energy to be quickly transferred from this bottom part of the plastic container to the upper part? So to allow for that, then the use of a stirrer will provide easy way of making the heat to be easily circulate through the entire liquid. Now, for instance, before I continue with my explanation, let me give a perfect example of this whole process. Assuming we want to use this method to determine the specific capacity of water, what are we going to do? We look for a plastic container. Say it might be in form of a jug, but that jug must have a cover or a lid so as to prevent heat loss to the environment through the process called evaporation and conduction. So that's the function of using the wooden lid here. So inside that jug, which is made of a plastic, we need to put our electrical heater, or we call it the heating coil. This electrical heater will be connected. The source of the EMF here might be from the direct current using a battery, or it might be from the alternating current using the our PHCN source of electricity. So either of the two is applicable here or is welcome. Now, after having our jug in form of plastic, having a cover, then what we need to do is to place that electrical heater inside that jug. Now, inside the jug, we want to determine the specific capacity of a liquid. Let's say we want to determine the specific capacity of water. Then the liquid used inside that jug will now be water. The liquid we are going to use inside that jug will be what? Will be water, because we want to determine the SHC of that particular water. If we want to determine the specific capacity of kerosene as another form of liquid, then the liquid we are going to use at that particular moment will be kerosene. Now, in this case, we now have our electrical heater inside that jug. We have our water inside that jug. Then we also place our thermometer so as to measure at every instant in the process. So that thermometer will be giving us the reading or the magnitude of the temperature of that liquid. So in this case, how do we now calculate the specific capacity of that water? Now, don't forget, in this particular experiment, one substance must give out heat. Another substance or another material must absorb this heat. Then, it's not left for us to decide which material, which substance is giving out heat and which substance, which material is absorbing heat. After the end of the whole experiment or the whole process, the total heat lost by a particular material must be equal to the total heat gained by another material. For instance, in this particular experiment, which material do you think is going to be giving out heat or heat energy? So the source of the heat energy will come from this heater, and this heater will get its own power or its own energy from what? From either the alternating or the direct or the alternating current from here. And in this case, which substance is going, or which material is going to be absorbing it? The liquid inside this plastic container is going to be what? Absorbing it. Which means at the end of the whole process, the total heat lost by this electrical heater from the electrical mains or source, either direct or the alternating current, must be equal to the total heat gain by what? By the liquid inside this plastic container. Provided, that's the condition, provided that no heat energy lost to the environment. That is one condition. Provided that no heat energy lost to the environment, or provided that no heat energy is absorbed by the plastic container. In the case where we discover that some part of the heat energy has been absorbed by the plastic container or the container we use in this particular experiment, therefore, the total heat lost by this heating coil must be equal to the sum or the total heat gain by the liquid and the total heat gain by what? By this container. Now, how do we now measure the specific heat capacity? Say water. We want to determine the specific capacity of water. Then we place what a certain form, a certain mass, or a certain volume of water be put inside this plastic container. Now, how do we know, or how do we measure the mass or the magnitude or the amount of water being used in this container? It depends on the size or the volume of this container. Now, if the mass of the liquid given or the mass of water given is not known, then we need to use another way of measuring or determining the mass of that substance. What are you going to do? We first weigh our container while empty. When it has nothing inside it, we weigh it while empty. We record the value of the mass of the plastic container. We record it down. You can say M1. You can record it down as M1. That is the mass of the container while empty. Then by the time we now fill this container, we fill it maybe 2/3 of it with water that we want to determine specific heat capacity. We fill it up, say 2/3 of this plastic container with water that we want to determine its specific capacity. Then we reweigh it again. We use the you can either use the beam or the chemical balance to determine the mass of any object. Then we can use our beam balance to measure the mass of the empty container, and when the container is 2/3 filled with water, we also reweigh it. Don't forget, by the time you reweigh, whether we like it or not, the final or the second measurement of the container and the liquid or the water inside it will be more than the initial measurement. Now, which means that by the time we reweigh, we record that value as M2, so that M1 being the mass of the empty container, M2 being the mass of the empty container and water. So how do we now measure the mass, or how do we determine the mass of the water or the content inside this container? Then the mass of the water may now be given as M2 minus M1. What we've done from this mathematical expression is that we remove or we've subtracted the mass of the empty container from the mass of the container and water, leaving behind the mass of water. Don't forget that M2 will be the mass, the addition or the sum of the mass of the water and the mass of the container. So subtracting the mass of the container from the measured value of the container and water, then leaving behind the mass of water. So that's how we can determine the mass of the liquid. So in this case, we now have to record some parameters down, so that it's very easier for us to calculate the specific capacity of the water that we want to calculate. Now, what are those parameters we need to measure? We need to determine. Therefore, the specific capacity of the liquid is calculated as follows. So let's see how we measure all these parameters. Let's see how we can measure all these parameters. Let's see how we measure all these parameters. Don't forget, we have various measuring instruments in this particular setup. We have the ammeter to determine the amount of the current. We have the voltmeter to determine the amount of the potential difference flowing through the circuit. We also have the thermometer to record the temperature of what? Of the system. both initially and then the final value. Now, in this case, we first determine the mass of the liquid. If it is water, we want to determine its specific capacity, we say mass of water. How do we determine mass of water? I've already explained. If the mass of water is not given, then we need to weigh the container we want to use. We weigh it when it is empty. By the time we weigh the mass, we record it as M1. Now, we now introduce the water inside this container, inside the container. By the time we introduce, we now weigh the container and the water. So we record it as M2. So the mass of water will be calculated as M2 minus M1. So giving us the mass of liquid or the mass of water to be M. So if the chemical balance is used or we use is in gram, then we can convert it to standard or SI unit, which is what? Kg. Then we use C to represent the specific capacity of liquid that we want to calculate. Don't forget, the specific heat capacity is represented by C, not H. H means the quantity of heat introduced to cause change in temperature of the body. But this C is the amount of heat required to change a unit mass of a substance through 1 degree Kelvin of temperature. Then we determine the initial temperature of the liquid. That's the function of the thermometer here. Before we introduce any heat here, before we allow any current to flow, we first determine the temperature, the initial temperature of the liquid inside this plastic container. And that value might be a value at room temperature, maybe around 30, 32, 35 degrees Celsius. So it might be a value of the room temperature of the system. Then, after we've now introduced, we've allowed electricity or electrical energy to pass or to flow through this circuit. You know, by the time the current is flowing through a circuit, through this circuit, what happens to this heater? The heater becomes warm or becomes heated. But then the heater becomes heated. So the heat energy in this heater will now be used to increase the temperature of the liquid or the water inside this particular container. Now, don't forget we've taken the initial temperature before we allow the electrical energy flowing through the circuit. Now, after some minutes, let's say after heating the water for about 3 to 4 minutes, so the temperature of this water must have been increased. Then we now use our thermometer again to find the final temperature of the liquid. To find the final temperature of the liquid. So we record the final temperature of the liquid as θ2. The initial temperature of the liquid, we record it as θ1. All of these are in degrees Celsius. We also determine the time of flow of current. We can use in the laboratory, we can use our stopwatch to determine the time taken for the electrical energy to flow through the circuit. So we record that value down. That is T in seconds. We also determine using our ammeter. So we read our ammeter and record the value of the current that has flown through what? Through the circuit as I being the unit of electrical current in ampere. Then we also use our voltmeter to determine the potential difference that has flown through what? Through the circuit. So in volts, we determine our change in temperature. The change in temperature will be θ2 minus θ1, that is final temperature minus initial temperature, also in degrees Celsius. Then the condition is that the total heat gain by this liquid to cause a change or to cause an increase in the temperature from θ1 to θ2 must be equal to the total heat lost by the heating coil or the electrical heater. So heat gained by the liquid is equal to the heat lost by the heater. But in this case, let's assume that we also consider the heat gained by the container. I mean, by the time the current is allowed to flow through this circuit to increase the temperature of the liquid, And we now discover that some part of that heat is not solely absorbed by the liquid, it's also part of it is also absorbed by the container. Then this equation will be that heat gained by the liquid plus heat gained by the container will be equal to the heat lost by the heater. So we try to, in this experiment, what we are after is that the body that lost heat, we need to take note of that. All the bodies that have gained the heat, we need to take note of that. Now, this condition holds if the total heat lost by the heater is solely gained by the liquid, then this expression holds. But if part of the heat is also being absorbed by the container, what we are going to have is that heat gained by liquid plus heat gained by container must be equal to the heat lost by the heater. But in this case, we want to assume that the plastic container, being an insulator, will not gain any heat. So the heat gained by this container, we assume it to be what? To be zero. So that the total heat loss will be equal to the total heat loss by the heater will be equal to the total heat gained by the liquid. And let's see from here. Heat gained by liquid. How do we measure heat gained by liquid? From our specific capacity, we understand that H equal MC theta. This is heat gained by the liquid. Heat lost by the heater. The heat that's going to be lost by the heater comes from the what? Electrical means. And electrical heat energy is given as IVT. Electrical heat energy is given as IV, that is current in the circuit, and potential difference in the circuit multiplied by the time of flow of the current in the circuit, or which we can also transform into IV is power multiplied by time. So either of these two expressions hold, then we can now rewrite this as, I can rewrite this as, to find our specific heat capacity, I can rewrite this as heat gained by the heater. Sorry, heat lost by the heater will be IVT. Heat gained by the liquid, because the liquid is going to gain heat so as to cause an increase in the temperature from theta 1 to theta 2 will be equals to MC change in theta. So this is mass of the liquid. This is the specific heat capacity of the liquid that we are looking for. And this is the change in temperature of the liquid. If the liquid is water, the expression will change to IVT equal mass of water, specific capacity of water, and change the temperature of water. And in this case, I will have IVT equal mass of the liquid times C of the liquid, theta 2 minus theta 1. Then what I'm looking for is the specific capacity, which is CL. Then CL will be IVT over mass of liquid into bracket theta 2 minus theta 1. Don't forget the unit of the specific capacity is joule per kg per Kelvin. Joule per kg per Kelvin. And if, in other words, the question says to determine the heat capacity of the liquid, once we've determined our specific capacity, we can determine this heat capacity using H equal Cp theta. H equal Cp theta. This one is heat capacity, Cp change in theta. Cp change in theta. And don't forget, this one will also equals to Nc change in theta. So if we equate this now, we discover that this and this will cancel. So Cp, heat capacity, will be equals to mass of the liquid times the specific heat capacity of the liquid. This Cp is the heat capacity, while Cl is the specific heat capacity, so you take note. So if we determine our Cl, then directly we can also measure the heat capacity of the liquid. So that's how you can use the experiment to determine the specific capacity of the liquid through or by electrical method. Now, we can also use the same process before there is precautions that has to be taken here, and before we go into that precautions, so let me explain another aspect of this very closely related to this. When the question says, or we want to use the same experiment to determine the specific capacity of a solid, this time around not liquid, but we want to use electrical method as well to determine the specific heat capacity of a solid. That solid must be a solid that has tendency of absorbing or gaining heat, which means that that solid must be a conductor of heat. It must not be an insulator. It must not be an insulator. It must be a very good conductor of heat. Now let's say we want to determine the specific capacity of a copper block. A copper what? Copper block. Copper is a metal. So that is copper metal. How do we use this electric method to determine the specific capacity of a copper metal? Now, what we need to do, let me quickly explain that. Here. What we need to do, we have another diagram here. If it is for solid material, solid metallic material, say copper block. Now what we are going to have is that we have a container. Inside this container, we place our solid metallic block or solid metallic material, which is this. But this solid metallic material, we try to create two different holes. We try to create two different holes. What are the functions of these two different holes that we need to create? The first hole is to allow for the insertion of thermometer. So we try to insert thermometer here to record the initial temperature of the body. We need the second one here is for the heater. So we pass the heater, the electrical heater here. This is thermometer, and this is the heating coil. So in this case, we also use the source of electricity or electrical energy. Since once we heat this solid material for about 2 to 3 minutes or more than that, so as to make the temperature to be increased. So after the whole process, the heat lost by the heater, IVT, will be equal to the heat gain by the metal block. That is the mass of the solid, specific capacity of the solid, times change the temperature of the solid. So in this case, we just make our CS the subject of formula. So that's how we can use the electric method for solid as well. So let's go to precautions under this. The precaution under this is that the first precaution is that the thermometer must be vertical. Before taking the reading, the thermometer must be in vertical position before taking the reading. Two, the liquid must be continuously stirred. The liquid must be continuously stirred. And three, the container should be large, that is to prevent heat loss to the surroundings. And four, Avoid error due to parallax while reading the Hamilton and voltmeter. Avoid parallax error while reading the Hamilton and voltmeter. So today, this is where we are going to draw the content for today. So next time we are still going to look to another experiment to determine the specific capacity of a liquid through method of mixture. Thank you.